Studio Microphone, Chapter 4. The Reichstag Fire, Germany's Convenient Crisis. Fire, a spark that set democracy ablaze, or a fire lit by design. Classical building, prelude to flames. The Weimar Republic on the brink. Germany in the early 1930s was a nation teetering on collapse. After World War I and the Treaty of Versailles, the once proud empire had become the fragile Weimar Republic, a democracy plagued by economic disaster, political extremism, and deep social division. By 1933, the country faced massive unemployment, rampant inflation, violent street clashes between communists and Nazis, a growing distrust in parliamentary democracy. Amid this instability, a rising star named Adolf Hitler had just been appointed Chancellor of Germany on January 30th, 1933. The result of backdoor deals and nationalist pressure, not a majority vote. But Hitler and his Nazi party still faced a major hurdle. They lacked the parliamentary power to rule absolutely. That would change just 4 weeks later, through an event that still sparks controversy today. Fire, February 27, 1933. The Reichstag burns. At 9 p.m., flames erupted from the Reichstag building, the seat of the German parliament in Berlin. Firefighters arrived quickly, but found the interior ablaze. As the blaze tore through the main chamber, police arrested a man found inside, Marinus van der Lubbe, a 24-year-old Dutch communist and drifter. Van der Lubbe confessed on the spot. He claimed he acted alone, intending to ignite a workers' revolution against the rising fascism. But the Nazis had other ideas. By the next morning, Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda minister, had already painted the fire as a communist conspiracy. Newspapers screamed headlines blaming the communists for trying to overthrow the state. The German public, shocked, angry, and afraid, demanded action. Scroll the Reichstag Fire decree, democracy dies in a day. On February 28, 1933, just 1 day after the fire, President Paul von Hindenburg, at Hitler's urging, signed the Reichstag Fire decree. The decree suspended nearly every civil liberty in Germany. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, the right to privacy, habeas corpus, protection from unlawful detention. In effect, the decree allowed the Nazis to arrest political enemies without due process, censor the press, and rule by fear. Within days, thousands of communists, social democrats, and dissidents were arrested, including elected officials. Communist publications were banned, and opposition voices silenced. The Nazis used the fire as the perfect excuse to eliminate their rivals and consolidate power. Ballot box with ballot, the March elections, democracy rigged by fear. Despite their growing grip, the Nazis still needed parliamentary approval to pass sweeping laws. On March 5, 1933, a national election was held. The Nazis won their largest share of the vote, 44%, but still lacked an outright majority. So they used their new powers to intimidate, arrest, and ban opposition members from taking their seats in the Reichstag. On March 23, the Nazi-controlled parliament passed the Enabling Act, giving Hitler the power to rule by decree for 4 years, legally bypassing the Reichstag altogether. This marked the end of the Weimar Republic and the beginning of Hitler's dictatorship. The Reichstag fire had served its purpose. Detective, who really lit the match? Theories and questions. The official Nazi line was clear. Van der Lubbe was a lone communist extremist. But even at the time, many suspected a setup. Several theories emerged. Fire, the Nazis did it themselves and used Van der Lubbe as a scapegoat. Fire, the SA, Sturmabteilung, the Nazi paramilitary group, set the fire to justify a crackdown. Fire, Van der Lubbe may have acted alone, but the Nazis allowed the fire to spread or exaggerated its significance to manipulate public opinion. In 1934, the Nazis staged a show trial in Leipzig. Other communists were charged with Van der Lubbe but were ultimately acquitted by a Reich court, embarrassing Hitler and casting more doubt on the Nazi narrative. Historians still debate the fire's true origin. No definitive evidence proves who planned or permitted the arson, but the political exploitation of the event is indisputable. Balance scale, aftermath, and legacy. the blueprint of tyranny. The Reichstag Fire is often cited as a classic example of a false flag operation, a crisis manufactured or exploited to justify authoritarian rule. Whether the Nazis lit the fire or simply seized the opportunity, the results were the same. Civil liberties were destroyed overnight. Political opposition was crushed. Hitler rose from chancellor to dictator. This moment teaches a chilling lesson. In times of fear, the public can be manipulated to surrender their rights in exchange for security. In the smoke of the Reichstag fire, Germany's democracy suffocated, and tyranny took its place. Scroll final reflection, a warning from history. The Reichstag fire was not just a turning point for Germany. It became a global symbol of how crises can be weaponized by those in power. When leaders demand emergency powers, when they point fingers at enemies to justify repression, and when the public allows it, all in the name of safety, freedom itself is at risk. The lesson endures. Vigilance is the price of liberty.